Yes, we are back here. Issues and Answers Friday, Free Speech Friday with Scott. No Rev. Rev's on daddy duty. Couldn't make it today's, but it's just me and you guys. And you know, I mean, as long as I got you guys out there, I'm not alone. Hope you enjoyed the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. The legendary Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. So exciting for me to see how much of an institution that hip-hop has become in our culture, in our society. You can go any part of the world. New Zealand, I've heard New Zealand hip-hop, and it was pretty good too. Canada, England, France, Germany, Australia, Iceland, I've heard Icelandic rappers. It's great, and it all starts from people like Grandmaster Flash. But something that happened this week that was definitely not positive and not inspiring, was actually pretty terrifying, was we saw on Monday Night Football, Buffalo Bills safety DaMar Hamlin suffer cardiac arrest after making a tackle. This actually caused the NFL to suspend the game that he's playing against the Cincinnati Bengals. That quickly lost significance in the aftermath of a scary scene that unfolded in front of a national TV audience. This man is 24 years old. 24, only 24. He was administered CPR on the field. Teammates surrounded this young man, shielding him from public view. Many of them were weeping and praying while Hamlin was treated on the field by team and independent medical personnel and local paramedics. He was taken by ambulance to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Now, what exactly happened? Hamlin was hurt when he tackled Cincinnati Bengals receiver T. Higgins on a seemingly routine play that didn't appear really all that bad. It was not a violent collision that you would expect in the NFL. The NFL has always sold its very violent collisions. This was not one of them. Higgins was running with the ball on the 13-yard pass from Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow when he led with his right shoulder, hitting Hamlin in the chest. Hamlin then wrapped his arms around Higgins' shoulders and helmet to drag him down. Hamlin quickly got to his feet, appeared to adjust his face mask with his right hand, and then fell backwards about 3 seconds later and laid motionless on the ground. This man was down for 19 minutes while receiving medical attention. WXIX TV in Cincinnati reported that Hamlin required an automated external defibrillator, AED, in addition to CPR on the field. This is one of the scariest things I have ever seen on a football field. I think a lot of us, we are so used to watching football that we really don't appreciate that these men are really putting their lives on the line every time they suit up and put a football helmet and some pads on. Like it's real easy to sit behind a TV screen or a computer screen and call a guy a bum and dog a guy out because he ain't playing well. It's a whole nother thing to put those pads on and that jersey on and go out there and experience multiple car collisions a game. Because that's what it is. It is a car collision, a low-speed car collision every time you get hit on a football field. And this man almost lost his life out there. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about what could have caused this cardiac arrest. Cardiac specialists are saying that it is too soon to know what caused Hamlin's heart to stop. But a rare type of trauma called commotio cordis is among the possible culprits. Commotio cordis occurs when a severe blow to the chest causes the heartbeat to quiver, leading to sudden cardiac arrest. This condition only happens during a rare set of circumstances when a sharp hit lands directly over the heart at the exact wrong location at the exact wrong timing during the heart's rhythm cycle, said Dr. Rod Passman, the director of the Center of Arrhythmia Research at Northwestern's Feinberg School of Medicine. Commotio cordis happens probably about 20 times a year, and about 60% of those who are affected survive, said the heart rhythm specialist Dr. Mark Link of UT Southwest Medical Center. The main worry for survivors is brain damage for lack of oxygen when the heart stops pumping blood. Doctors can help reduce that risk with deep sedation to give the brain a rest, which is what happened, which is why Mr. Hamlin was put under. He was under for so long. But I have good news. Today, he is up. They say he is waking up. They said he was breathing with the help of a breathing tube. They said the breathing tube is out now, that he's breathing on his own, that he's talking, and even addressed his teammates. So that is great news. I think this young man being 24 years old and athlete, a prime NFL top 1%, hell, probably top 0.1% of a physical specimen on the planet, because that's pretty much all the DBs in the NFL are great athletes at their absolute physical peak. Wide receivers, DBs, running backs, these are the positions where you have to be a bad man as an athlete in order to play those positions. You can't be an out of shape safety, cornerback, wide receiver, running back, those types of positions. You will get exposed very quick. Yes, you will. So I'm guessing between his age and his physical conditioning that he needs to play that sport, that helped this young man be able to survive this. It was so heartening to see the fans of both teams, the Bills and the Bengals, praying for Mr. Hamlin outside of the hospital. They prayed with his teammates. His father was there. His father actually called the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills and told him to, hey, go ahead and do it for my son. You know, he called Josh Allen, who was the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. He said, hey, you guys can do it. You know, my son will be all right. God's got him. But it does lead to more questions about not only the safety of football, but is there a place in our society for the game of football? And for violent sports like boxing, like MMA, I guess wrestling, whatever. These are all sports and activities that will almost inevitably lead to brain damage and other physical ailments, especially as you get older. You know, I've never hidden the fact that boxing is my favorite sport, personally. I'm a boxing fanatic. It's my absolute favorite sport. Muhammad Ali, the greatest heavyweight who ever lived. There's no doubt about that in my mind. We know what happened to Muhammad Ali. We know what the last 30, hell, almost 40 years of his life was like. From like the 80s until he died, and I want to say 2016, I believe Ali died in 2016. 2018? Something like that. He was mentally compromised. He was suffering from the effects of Parkinson's disease. And not only Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, almost uniformly considered the greatest fighter who ever lived by actual boxing fanatics and actual boxing historians. He lived to, I believe he was 80, but he suffered from Parkinson's or some sort of dementia at the end of his life from fighting 200 times in his career. Same with Henry Armstrong, Homicide Hank, another one of the greatest fighters of all time. A lot of these fighters and football players, we've seen what happened with Junior Seau in the NFL. Dave Duerson from our Chicago Bears, who was on the 85 team, shot himself in the chest so that they could study his brain and maybe find out what was wrong with him. So many of the greatest football players of all time, greatest boxers of all time. You know, Mike Tyson, my all-time favorite athlete, favorite fighter as well. But I pray for him. I've heard what Evander Holyfield sounds like. Evander Holyfield really sounds, if you've heard Holyfield over the last 5 or 10 years, Holyfield's speech has really deteriorated. Mike Tyson, I guess a little bit, but a lot of that could be the weed, okay? Like, Mike Tyson is a big weed guy now. He has Tyson University, where he grows marijuana and teaches other people how to grow marijuana. He's a part of the legal cannabis industry, and he's supposedly, they say, making a lot of money legally off of this, which, good for him. I will always root for Mike Tyson. He's always been my guy. But I don't know whether, when I hear him slurring his words a little bit, whether that's the weed or if that's just, decades of boxing. And these football players, at one point, they were dropping like flies. All the guys from the 70s and 80s and 90s that I grew up watching when I was a kid, a lot of these dudes were gone. We watched Steve Gleason, who played for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, I watched him on Real Sports, and he deteriorated into ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, which is a awful, awful, awful way to die. You basically lose control of everything. I mean, it really is one of the absolute saddest ways to die that you could possibly die. To lose control of everything. And so it sort of, there is a conundrum that all of us who enjoy these sports, I love football. I grew up, idolizing people like Walter Payton. I love Sweetness. And Mike Singletary, Samurai Mike, and, well, look at one of the 85 Bears right now, Steve Mongo McMichael. He's suffering from the effects of, I believe, ALS as well. I think he has Lou Gehrig's disease as well. And Mongo McMichael was a guy who, one of the most gregarious, funniest, most jovial big men you'll ever see. He went from being a great football player, Super Bowl winning football player, to a great professional wrestler. When I was a kid, he's a part of the Four Horsemen with Ric Flair and Arn Anderson and people like that. And he was always a character. That's who Steve McMichael was. To see what he looks like now, at the end of his life, has been so sobering. We ask these men to entertain us. Entertain us. Throw that block. Throw your body at that man who's 270 pounds without any regard for how it will affect you for the next 20 or 30 years of your life, 40 years of your life. And if you don't do it, I'll call you a bum. Now, one organization that I think deserves a lot of scorn in this situation is the NFL. The National Football League. They wanted to give those players 5 minutes after watching their fallen brother getting CPR for 20 minutes after dying on the field and being revived. They wanted to give them 5 minutes to get back to playing football. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? That reminds me of when I was a kid, my mother used to always call professional sports plantation ball. And it's times like this that make you really start to look at the power relationship between the NFL and its players. When they want to make somebody go out and continue to play while their brother just literally died next to them. And they said 5 minutes. Now, thank the Lord that the coaches of both teams said, hell no. No, 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 no. We are not going back out there and playing right after watching this kid just down the field and have to be revived by CPR and AED. No, 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 no. We are not going back out there. So major props to the two coaches who stood up for their players. Now, when we get back, I don't want anybody, look, this all comes with a disclaimer. You know, these are all my personal opinions. This is not WLTH or its sponsors' opinions. All I'm going to say is when we come back, because I got to take a break before I have to get out of here. I only got about 15 minutes before I got to get out of here before Marion Williams comes with the 2x4 and starts regulating and kicks me out personally. I definitely want to get into just something that could be totally a coincidence. You guys take it where you want. But when we get back here on WLTH, we're going to talk about it. See what I'm talking about. All right, folks, we are back. It is 7:47 here on January 6, 2023. I got a little bit more than 10 minutes, so I want to hurry up and get into this. Now, before we left, we talked about the unfortunate case of DaMar Hamlin falling and having a cardiac arrest event in the middle of an NFL football game on Monday Night Football. And, you know, there's been a lot of speculation about why such a young and healthy man would have cardiac arrest, a cardiac arrest event in the peak of his physical conditioning. Now, this may be completely relevant to nothing. You guys take this any way you want to take this. Okay? Again, I personally don't tell people how to deal with their health. I ain't a doctor. Okay? But I am also a conscientious being who, you guys know if you listen to the show, I'm constantly researching. That's what I do. Even if I wasn't here at WLTH, I'd still be doing it. That's what I do. Okay? And just this week, it came to my attention that there have been more than 270 cardiac sudden cardiac deaths in American athletes after they were vaccinated. Now, this is from a peer-reviewed study. 279 athletes and former athletes in the United States have died from cardiac arrest after taking the COVID-19 vaccine, according to the data from a recent peer-reviewed study. Authored by structural biologist Pangeris Polycretis and board-certified internist and cardiologist Dr. Peter McCullough, this study cited data found that from 2021 to 2022, at least 1,600 cardiac arrests have been globally documented in vaccinated athletes, with over 1,100 of those being fatal. The global data also shows that between 2021 and 2022, former and current American athletes have made up 279 of the mortalities. That's just here in America. Now, athletes have a lower chance of cardiac arrest and sudden cardiac death as opposed to non-athletes. A 2016 U.S. study calculated that non-athletes compared to athletes have a 29 times higher chance of sudden cardiac death. Now, Dr. Peter McCullough pointed to a European study that tracks sudden cardiac deaths in European athletes over 38 years from 1966 to 2004. The study reported 1,100 sudden cardiac deaths over that interval, which Polycretis would estimated would be about 29 deaths per year. The recent paper has shown a marked increase from that. In the United States, it is estimated that 100 to 150 athletes die every year from sudden death. But the data cited in the study, however, showed that in 2022 alone, over 190 deaths from cardiac arrest have been reported in current and former athletes. This does not include athletes with unknown vaccine status and whose names did not make it into the media. McCullough said, looking at the data, there's no doubt that sudden cardiac deaths have increased following vaccinations. However, since most of the sudden cardiac deaths in the media are of professional competitive players, McCullough added that collecting data from athletes in college, high school, and other international leagues would give a more comprehensive picture. He pointed to studies that have shown high myocarditis increases following the COVID-19 vaccination. Prior to the pandemic, a 2017 study in Finland found that myocarditis rates were 19.5 per million for children 15 years of age and younger. Another 2012 Japanese study on pediatric admissions reported even lower rates of 2.6 cases per million in children 1 month to 17. In the data released by the CDC and Prevention in June 2021, researchers expected myocarditis rates in vaccinated 12 to 17-year-old males to be 63 cases per million. By the following year, researchers at the CDC noted that myocarditis numbers in young males were exceeding the background rates. A study from the Kaiser Permanente, published in August 22, estimated myocarditis would be 186 cases out of a million after a second dose of vaccine in 12 and 7 to 17-year-old children. In males, this number was raised to 377 cases out of a million. You know, a German autopsy study evaluated 25 people who died unexpectedly within 20 days of being vaccinated. 4 of the individuals were found with myocarditis without any other disease signal that might have caused their unexpected death. The authors concluded that their autopsy studies indicated that their deaths were due to cardiac failure and that myocarditis could be a potentially lethal complication following mRNA-based anti-SARS-CoV-2 vaccination. Again, I just tell you guys what I see. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your body. I respect and trust all of you guys to make the decisions that are right for you, but don't say I didn't inform you. Don't say I didn't tell you. The corporate media that's all sponsored by Pfizer and the drug companies, they're going to tell you one thing. You know, as we talked about throughout this show, all of our politicians are professional liars. All of them. They're going to tell you what's best for their corporate donors. And their corporate donors are Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and all the other drug companies. And the health insurance companies. So, you know, you guys have known my stance. If you listen to the show, you know I said from day one, I was going to take a wait and see approach to the vaccine. I've chosen not to take it. That's why I'm wearing a mask here in the building by myself, because that is what the agreement that I had with the station. But everybody else has the right to make their own choice. I've made my choice, and as time goes on, guess what? I feel very good about my choice. That's all I'm saying.